actually received the feedback yesterday that a lot of people actually had to park their cars at home to make use of the BRT. Can you beat that?
Well, that is the beauty and essence of the BRT in the first instance.
Yeah.
The first of its kind in Africa. So, Kate and I have been going through the mails, text, and Facebook comments that the viewers and members of the public sent us, and have been having a blast reading through your amazing messages.
Like this one, it's a poem someone sent us on Facebook. It says, "To travel happy on Lagos roads and count no losses, be sure to take refuge in LAMATA's big blue BRT buses."
Beautiful. That deserves a Nobel Prize. No questions asked.
We have another one, and this one deserves an immediate response. "I took a BRT from Mile 12 on my way to Anthony, but the bus went straight to Fadeyi, and I had to go all the way back to Anthony. Please, how do we know the routes of these new BRT buses to prevent entering the wrong ones?"
I agree, Kate. These deserve an immediate response we must deal with in this episode. The new BRT buses are here to make life easier for you. So, it's important we walk you through the operation of the new system and the various services offered to help you make the most of your journey on them. I am Obafemi Craig.
And I am Kate Harmony. First, we take the news highlights.
Welcome and thanks for joining us on the news highlight on LAMATA FR. Commuters plying the Mile 12 to Ikorodu corridor have been assured of the early completion of the Mile 12 to K2 traffic congestion intervention project being implemented by the Lagos Metropolitan Area Transport Authority, LAMATA. Engineer Gbenga Dairo, Director of Public Transport LAMATA, gave the assurance in Lagos while appealing to commuters over the traffic congestion around Mile 12 as a result of the construction works. According to Engineer Dairo, the work plan has been modified to ensure the completion of the project by February 2016. On completion, the project will enhance the operation of the BRT system and eradicate the traffic gridlock usually experienced by other road users within the area. We have in the studio with us Engineer Femi Fayombo, Senior Specialist Infrastructure LAMATA, to talk to us about the project. Thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much.
Now, what are the traffic measures being implemented expected to address?
Yes, first and foremost, I think I should just reinform the public about the problems, the challenges, the traffic problems along the corridor. And we all know, it's a common knowledge that Mile 12 market, the trading activities at the Mile 12 market area is a major traffic problem along that corridor. Then illegal U-turning by the commercial buses over the median. You see yellow buses turning over the median to make U-turning in either direction they are going. Then indiscriminate crossing by pedestrian and indiscriminate crossing by cart pushers, all occasioned by non-using of pedestrian bridges. Pedestrian bridges are around there, but nobody wants to use it. Then the activities around the lay-by. There's a lay-by there, but we understand that it's not adequate. But even as it is, they are not well used by the commercial buses. All this put together are causing major traffic along the corridor. And the intervention we are doing is to remove all these bottlenecks so that traffic can flow, BRT buses can move, and other traffic can move along the corridor.
We also notice that the message along the corridor is seeking understanding from commuters. Is that from LAMATA?
Yeah, sure, that's from LAMATA. The message is just to inform the public about the work activities along the corridor. We want, let me use this medium once again, to appeal to the people of Lagos, the residents of the Ikorodu area, and commuters along that corridor, that we've had your support over the last 3 years when we were working on the other project between Mile 12 and Ikorodu town. Now, this is another step to make it even better, because we know that when you travel from Ikorodu and you get to Mile 12, the travel time you have saved seems to be eroded with the issues around K2 Mile 12. So we want to fix this problem now. So we are trying to inform the public that, okay, we understand the conditions, the plights you've been going through the last 2 months or thereabouts. Please bear with us for a little more time. that this construction work will be finished and we all have better journey times and, you know, good times will come again.
So how far have you gone with the project?
Yes, about this time we are about 50%, about midway into the project. But let me just say, for the project, what we are doing is we are constructing what we call a New Jersey median barrier over the existing median. And it's about 1.2 meters high, which is something like this on my height. Then we are going to have spikes on it. We want to prevent people from sitting. When they cross the road, they sit on the, you know, there's the possibility that they can sit on the fence. So we want to put spikes to hinder them from sitting on the barrier. Then on the other side of the road, we are building a 1.5 meter fence. And we are putting some steel grill on it so that people are discouraged from crossing that road. There's a pedestrian bridge just some few meters around there. We want every pedestrian, every cart pusher, everybody to go and use the pedestrian bridge to cross the road so that even their life is not endangered and they can allow traffic to flow. So the part of the problem of Lagos is traffic. And we know 70% of the problem are caused by people. So with this intervention, we believe that even the law enforcement agents like LASMA, CAI, they will be relieved. Because the human intervention, there's an extent to which you can go. When they are tired in the evening, what happens? They will have to close and go home. But with the physical restriction, people know that this thing is not going to be allowed or will not be allowed, and they are forced to use the pedestrian bridge, which is even very human-friendly. There are steps, there are ramps. So anybody can use it. So we encourage...
physically challenged?
Yes, everybody.
Thank you very much for joining us on the platform.
Thank you for having me.
That was Engineer Femi Fayombo, Senior Specialist Infrastructure, LAMATA, talking to us on the Mile 12 to K2 Traffic Congestion Intervention Project. And that ends the news highlights.
The new bus rapid transit BRT buses have some interesting constants and variables.
First, the constants. They all have comfortable cushioned seats, priority seating for the physically challenged, air conditioners, cooling you throughout the journey, and the pull cord to enable you access the emergency doors if necessary.
They also have LCD screens for multimedia entertainment and important information, a stop button that you press to alert the driver when you're alighting.
And now, the variables. The new BRT buses have various final stops. Some make a stop at every bus shelter. Some make none on the way to their final destination.
How do you even know you're in the right one? And what other services do these brand new BRT buses offer that you should be aware of? Dr. Desmond Amiegbebor, Deputy Director, Bus Services LAMATA, is here to enlighten us on this and more. It's always good to have you on the show, Dr. Desmond.
Thank you very much.
You're welcome.
For a better understanding of the new BRT system, can you describe the infrastructure of the new corridor?
The infrastructure deployed so far for the BRT operation from Ikorodu to TBS comprises the bus depot, where we crew the buses, fuel the buses, where schedules are managed. Now, we also have the terminal. The terminal, that is where services are recovered. That means that when you have the terminal, is where we have people who are stationed to rearrange the services, originate services, plan services at the various terminals. For example, we have one at Ikorodu, we have one at Agric, we have one at My 12, we have one at CMS. Now, we also have the pedestrian footbridges. These footbridges connect the the bus stops. So instead of people crossing over the BRT lane as well as the service lane, they connect the bus stops through the footbridges. Now, we also have wayfinders. These wayfinders, from there, through the wayfinder, people can know where they are, the services that connect individual bus stops, and what have you.
There have been questions, particularly about the services run by the system. Could you enlighten us on these services?
Well, on the BRT corridor, we have about 11 services.
Okay.
From Ikorodu, for example, you have Ikorodu Fadeyi, you have Ikorodu My 12, then you have Ikorodu TBS, respectively.
Okay.
Now, from the same Ikorodu, the TBS services, it's actually they are grouped into two.
Okay.
Yeah, you have TBS Express, and that has to do with people who are leaving Ikorodu very early in the morning from the hour of 5:30 to about 7. This is to enable them meet their work schedule on the island. Now we also have the stop services from Ikorodu, originating from Ikorodu and going to TBS, but they stop at various stations.
Okay.
Now, on the same Ikorodu as well, these services are organized in multiple operations. For example, from Ikorodu, you have 2 buses simultaneously boarding passengers to My 12.
Okay.
From the same Ikorodu to Fadeyi, you have 3 buses simultaneously boarding passengers from Ikorodu to Fadeyi. Now, from the same Ikorodu, you have 2 buses simultaneously boarding passengers from Ikorodu to TBS.
2.
Yeah, 2. So in a single boarding, that is single departure,
Okay.
you have 7 buses departing
To different locations.
to different locations, because it is arranged in such a way to allow for simultaneous boarding. Now, when you get to Agric, the same arrangement is in place. You have Agric Fadeyi, you have Agric My 12, then you have Agric TBS. But because the volume at Ikorodu is much higher than that of Agric, you have 2 buses boarding simultaneously to Fadeyi from Agric, 2 buses boarding simultaneously to My 12 from Agric, as well as 2 buses boarding simultaneously to TBS from Agric. Now, when you get to My 12, the service actually is from My 12 to our stadium, My 12 to Fadeyi, and My 12 to TBS. However, you also have the return trip from My 12 to Ikorodu and My 12 to Agric, respectively. Yes. Well, you have northbound, that is down to Ikorodu. Okay. You have Fadeyi to Agric, Fadeyi to Ikorodu. Now, when you get to TBS, the same thing applies. That means you have TBS Fadeyi, TBS My 12, TBS Agric, and TBS Ikorodu, respectively. Now,
sorry, sir, but
yes.
You see, Fadeyi is not a terminal.
Yes, it's not a terminal. That is why what we do is we have a kind of a turn point at Masalashi.
Okay.
Yeah, we have a turn point at Masalashi. Take, for example, in order to respond to Ojota, K2 Ojota to the island, okay, we stable buses at My 12, because at My 12, we have capacity to stable up to about 30 to 40 buses. So what we do is, in order to respond to K2 Ojota to the island, we roll out buses from Ojota, from My 12, empty to K2. We roll out empty buses from My 12 to Ojota, because we don't have enough space to stable buses there.
Okay.
And then we now have Ojota to Fadeyi, Ojota to TBS. We also have K2 to Fadeyi and K2 to TBS. Now, in all, the largest, the busiest route we have is to Fadeyi.
With this fine arrangement, issues of waiting time at the bus shelter is still one critical matter that needs to be addressed. Commuters still spend lots of waiting time at the bus shelters waiting for buses. Why is this so?
Yeah, what we understand, or what we recall was that during the, when we're planning for this operation, about 434 buses were planned to be deployed. We're just about maybe 2 months old. We are gradually stepping up the number of buses being deployed. As we speak now, we have about 240 buses in operation. So we are now increasing the number of buses based on on demand. So for now, you will discover that you have some people waiting for buses. The case may be. Another key issue is traffic congestion. About 65% of the corridor, of the lane, BRT lane, is fully segregated. The remaining, the remaining 35% is not segregated. So you discover that in those non-segregated area of the lane, you discover that these buses run with mixed traffic with other motorists. So at the end of the day, you discover that they spend longer hours in traffic.
So how do we resolve this? Because people really want to use the BRT service, but let's say you're going somewhere, you have an interview and you're in a hurry, and you get to the bus terminal and you can't just get access to the bus. It will cost you more time, and you'll probably not get to your destination on time. Absolutely,
I agree. But let me say that the waiting time is not it's not. They don't experience waiting time at all the shelter. Waiting time is critical at Ikorodu. It's critical at Agric. Okay. Yes. Now, apart from the traffic congestion, apart from the fact that we are still stepping up the number of buses in operation, another critical issue at Ikorodu in particular is the constraint, that is space constraint. The space at Ikorodu, you can see buses coming at interval of 4 minutes, 5 minutes, 3 minutes, but the inflow is huge. So what we are doing right now is to see how we can take off certain percentage of people coming into coming to Ikorodu shelter, coming to Ikorodu terminal to board. So in that we want to start a service at Ikpakodo, that is Ikpakodo ferry terminal. Okay. So in that order, we're going to take what's the name of that place close to Ikpakodo ferry terminal again?
Bute.
Okay, Bute. Yeah. Well, maybe I'm not conversant with it.
Thank you for that.
Yes, okay, thank you for that. So a lot of people commute. They shuttle from there down to Ikorodu terminal. To board BRT buses to the. Now what we do is to bring the service nearer to them. Okay. At Ikpakodo, and things will commence effectively from next week.
What about the validators in the buses? We hear that they are not working well. Is this true?
Yes, there's some failure rate that we recorded so far, and particularly when commuters are tapping out. The front validator is from experience. The failure rate is almost getting to a 0 level, but the back validator where people tap out, at times it could show some some funny gives funny response like over deduction or under deductions and what have you. But the vendor is actually on the know of that, and they are providing solution to address that challenge.
We'll take a break. We'll be back after this timeout. Welcome back. You have heard what we have to say, but it's not a conversation if we do not have your response. We're now ready to take your comments and questions. Are you all ready? Yes. Now let's have your questions.
I want to know why the old card is not working with the new buses.
Well, the old card will definitely not work on this current system, because they are operating on different parents. The platform, the current platform, is connected to a different financial institution. while the old one was connected to altogether a different financial institution. However, what you can do is to get in touch with the service provider, that is ePOS. They will be able to advise you on how you can deal with such issues.
My question is there any checkmating for passengers going from Lagos down north, up north rather? Some buy 70 naira ticket, some buy 120 naira ticket. But there is nobody checking when we get to Fadeyi whether, if the passenger is going down to Ikorodu has a 70 naira ticket or a 120 naira ticket.
Well, we have some inspectors and checkers at Fadeyi and Mile 12 respectively to address these issues of overriding. Some people have been caught with some ticket. Instead of them to disembark at Mile 12, they want to override to Ikorodu. But you'll agree with me that we can't check all buses, or else we'll be causing congestion at these two nodes, because there are two critical nodal points, Mile 12 and Fadeyi. So what we do is there are people who are specially on that assignment, but they do it at random. And even that random exercise have actually yielded some good results. Some people have been caught and they were made to complete what they're supposed to pay and what have you. But may I say this, why do we actually need to shortchange a system that has been applauded to be good? Because these are some of the sustainable issues. You are cutting costs, you are shortchanging. The operator is not getting the expected dividend, the expected payback revenue. How do you expect such a system to be sustained? If I'm shortchanging, you are shortchanging, he is shortchanging, they are shortchanging. At the end of the day, you will discover that the operator will be losing quite, a lot of money.
Well, to our audience, we want to thank you for being part of the discourse.
The secret to LAMATA's success is keeping an open ear to everything you have to say. Here is a Facebook message from Victor Adimabwa Konko. Please, how can I get the Lagos Connect card? Well, Victor, you can get the Lagos Connect card from the ticketers at every bus shelter. And thank you for sending the message. Our appetite for what you have to say is insatiable, so kindly keep sending your questions, comments, and observations to any of the following.
Thank you for being on today's show.
Before we leave, remember that Lagos is one of Africa's busiest cities, so you need both your rides to be in sound condition to navigate the city well. Remember, if you're in Lagos, you always have to shine your eyes. I am Kate Harmony.
I am Obafemi Craig.
LAMATA.
Keeping Lagos moving.
Lagos, my home. With LAMATA, Lagos is changing for the best. BRT lanes, modern